want to go too far afield, but one of the things I remind people of when I'm speaking is, typically people think in terms of cults. They think of the extremists that have an ideology that's new and uniquely weird. But I remind people that, my father, he didn't concoct some bizarre new theology. He's just 250 years ahead of his time, or behind his time. I don't know what to say. 250 years ago, his theology, this message that they're putting out there, was the mainstream message. So that's interesting to contemplate, Now,
those people who say, Fred Phelps doesn't represent my God. My God is a God of love.
Yeah.
My Bible is a good book. Fred Phelps doesn't represent me. He's doing it wrong. He's a counterfeit Christian. But actually, when you look at it, he's pretty spot on in representing the quote-unquote truth of Scripture.
That's right. Yeah, he's not ignoring those passages that Christian leaders have had to ignore as we move into a more humanist ideology, secular ideology as a society.
Lots of churches have sort of backed away from the whole hellfire thing.
Yeah.
What they call seeker-friendly churches. They're inviting and happy and warm and fuzzy, and there's not a lot of talk about damnation or punishment there.
Yep, that's right. And yet there it is. One of the things that I find interesting, I was reading a paper. There was a gal, she's a philosopher from the University of Massachusetts, I think. Very bright. You could just tell about the way she talks. But when she went to an example of her justification for not being able to embrace the idea of the Christian God, she talked about the problem of evil. And the false assumption in her justification is she has accepted this omnibenevolent attribute that is assigned to the Christian God today. What a lot of these philosophers and these deep thinkers don't contemplate is that, what if he isn't? What if he's not omnibenevolent? Suddenly the problem of evil isn't so hard to overcome,
For you, when did
Fred Phelps and the Westboro Baptist Church, in their hatred, their bigotry, and their despicable, vile outlook on the world, represent real doctrinal Christianity. Before any Christians tell me I'm wrong, look at the history of Christianity. Look at the medieval era, when Europe was run by Christians. Christian barons, Christian kings, Christian emperors, Christian knights, all these Christian groups. They were butchering each other constantly. They even killed other Christians and called it a celebration. And anyone with a different view was a heretic, so it was even better if you killed them because they weren't even Christian. And you look back beyond that, you look to the latter-day Roman Empire when it was run by Christians. And they were slaughtering people completely. You look at the Protestant era, and the Protestants were butchering Catholics. The Catholics were butchering Protestants. Everybody was butchering and drinking blood and raping women and killing babies and committing infanticide and regicide and all of these things. They were crazed. These people were violent. And they continued through the Renaissance. And then they found out there was a whole other continent that they could explore. 3 continents they hadn't explored yet and quantified and put on their maps. He said, wow, the world's a lot bigger than we thought. Look at all these people over there. They don't know the Lord. We'd better kill them all. Or we'd better infect them with, some sort of disease that they're not used to yet. Or we've got to enslave them. Or whatever. This is real Christianity. This is the real Christianity that was considered real and considered valid for most of the history of Christianity. It wasn't until about the middle 1900s that things like war weren't considered a Christian virtue. The idea of Christian pacifism, the idea that Christians are supposed to be pacifistic and not hurt other people, didn't even exist until the last century. And yet people say, well, now we've got it right. Now we're real Christians. For most of the history of Christianity, we were wrong. Well, that doesn't make sense. If your God is divine, then your God already led the other 1900 years of Christians, or the centuries of Muslims, or the many thousands of years of Jews, and told them to kill people, and told them to butcher babies, and rape women, and burn down buildings, and go and commit genocide, and poison the wells, and wipe entire tribes and cultures of people out. That is the real God of Christianity. A vile, murderous, brutal, evil.
That means that this is a group of people who, when they see a grieving family, their instinct is not leave that family alone to mourn. Their instinct is not let's help that family with their suffering. Let's try to alleviate the pain that they feel because they've just lost loved ones. Their reaction is, let's try to dig the knife in a little and twist it. Let's try to enhance their grief. Let's try to make the family suffer more to further our regressive, misguided agenda. And they do these horrible things because they believe that the creator of the entire universe is supremely concerned with what a bunch of primates on a backwater fleck of dust floating somewhere in the great cosmic expanse do with their fucking genitalia.
Okay, I've decided to weigh in my little opinion about the death, the tragedy of Fred Phelps. Yes. The 3 clips that I just posted are clips from videos that I watched last night and this morning. That there were like my favorite bits from those videos that, you know, it's stuff that I've been thinking about or have thought about before. That has occurred to me before. Christians that put their nose in the air at the Westboro Baptist Church and they say, well, they don't represent what I believe. That's not my God. Actually, you're right. It's not your God. The God that you believe in and worship was made up about 200 years ago. The Westboro Baptist Church people believe in the Abrahamic God. That would be the God that's written about in this book called the Bible. Yeah, that's the same God that the Jews believe in. And the Muslims believe in too. They have a different name for him, but he too was founded on the Muslim God. Allah was I venture into unfamiliar territory now because I'm not familiar with Islam, but I believe Allah is the Old Testament God. That religion is founded on the Old Testament, as is Christianity. So the nice God, the benevolent, loving God that Christians worship today did not exist at the time of the start of this country. You know, when the settlers came to America, they were fleeing the tyranny of religion. And when the founding fathers set up this country, they deliberately took steps to keep what happened from the land that they left from happening here. They created separation of church and state for the reason that they did not want this tyrannical God's religion, Christianity, to destroy this country and make it miserable to live in, the same way as it had done in the country they had just fled from. So yeah, even the founding fathers, the God that they disdained, was not the happy, loving, benevolent, warm and fuzzy God of today. Fred Phelps followed Christianity. He followed the true, undiluted form of Christianity. What Christians are today is a wishy-washy, watered-down Christianity. They have no spine. They can't stomach Christianity in its true form. So they made up this, sickly sweet syrup that, here, let's put some sweetener in it so the medicine goes down. Better religion, Christianity. Yeah. So, yeah, that's one of the things that has occurred to me watching the antics of the Westboro Baptist Church and the average Christian's opinion of those antics with, oh, well, that's just not right. That's not believing. That's not following that's not real Christianity. It is. You see, you're looking at real Christianity when you look at the Westboro Baptist Church. You're looking at what Christianity was 200 plus years ago. They are following Christianity. They are following the true Christianity. Everything today is not. Fred Phelps was like like, I can't think of his name. I put a clip of his on my video. Yes, it's morning. See, coffee in my Christmas mug that I've been too lazy to put away. Oh, but it's a Home Depot Christmas mug. See, and now I forgot what I was saying. Had to do with that guy who put that video up. Anyway, I'm sure it was an excellent point too, and it just flew right out of my brain. It's gone. Anyway, Fred Phelps was, oh, okay, the guy said that he's the last Christian, that Fred Phelps is the last Christian. There's another guy, and I would say his name, but alas, my computer has shut down. It's hot, so it shut down. I put a video up maybe a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, about a black reverend who was talking about, he's from Harlem. I don't remember his name, but he's from Harlem, and he's trying to get himself famous by putting really nasty little anti-gay messages up on the church sign. My video, I make fun of him pretty much straight through. I make fun of his speech and what I think of his speech, which is incredibly sexist and bigoted and racist too. There's been another sign since I've made that video. He's wanting to have the new crown. He wants to take, Fred Phelps is dead, long live the king. This guy wants to be the new Fred Phelps when it comes to, the newest sign says something about stoning homosexuals. It's still the law. And he quotes Leviticus in the sign, and he's saying that stoning, the penalty for homosexuality is stoning to death. And then underneath the passage it says, it's still the law. This is the new Fred Phelps. People are like, yay, he's dead, and this guy's like, the last of the real Christians is dead. I'm like, well, there's this black guy from Harlem who is basically just as bad, or he's trying really hard to be just as bad. And there's always going to be this poison in the world until we get rid of not the individual, but the poison. And the only way we can do that is to loudly point out, call a spade, whatever, the deception that is this religion, the lie that is this fucking book. I saw on HuffPost, and I was going to read it, but my computer died. The Westboro Baptist comes back. They basically give their reaction to Fred Phelps' death. And they're talking about, well, this is just the death of the body, not the death of the spirit. And I'm like, you have what to base it on. You have a book, and based on the book, and I'll tell you, though, if any Christian deserves to go to heaven, this guy does, because he truly was a real Christian, and he truly followed real Christianity. So, if the Bible is true, these guys are spot on correct. His spirit is with God now, and he's probably got a huge fucking crown on his head, and he's got a huge mansion, and God probably has given him a special seat of honor. But, again, addressing the notion that he's with his spirit continues on, and I don't want to mock that too much, because I would mock the Westboro Baptist Church. I have no problem mocking them. But I lost my dad when I was 6 years old, and I do not want to down underneath all the twisted corruption that these people are because of this vile poison that they've ingested, overdosed on our people, our children who have lost their dad. A huge part of me feels for them. Just thinking about it, and I can feel my eyes getting, I feel for them as children who've lost their father. And so I don't want to say that, your book is well, I will say it, I'm sorry. Your book is a lie, and based on a lie, your father caused nothing but hurt and cruelty. He committed cruelty. He committed the most unfathomable cruelty on people who were suffering the death of loved ones, who were at funerals trying to cope with the death of loved ones. There you were with your signs, rubbing it in, twisting the knife, making it hurt even more. So why should I feel? Why should I hold back? Why should I say, well, I know how bad it hurts because I lost my dad, and I don't want to make another human being hurt like that, hurt even more than that. But then now that I'm thinking about it, you were there with your fucking signs, twisting the knife. You had no such consideration for other people when they were hurting. Now it's your turn, and your peace is, well, he's with God, and his spirit is with God. Hold on to that, because that's all you've got. And it comes from a book written by humans. From a religion created by humans, based on a God made up by humans. That's all you've got. It's really too bad that his life couldn't have been more about making the world a better place. All you can say in your rebuttal is, well, he's with God now. His spirit continues on. Can't say much about anything else because there isn't anything else. Anyway, I'm glad he's gone. I'm not going to celebrate his death. I'm very glad he's gone. I am not, you notice I'm not really crying. I just got misty at the thought of my father. I'm not shedding a tear for this man. I'm not sad that he's gone. I think that a vile evil has left the world. Too bad we can't get the black guy from Harlem to, but there's always going to be this. There's always going to be a new one. Hitler was one too. There's always going to be a new one. And the only way we're going to stop the tide is to fucking stop the lie. So, keep talking, atheists. Keep putting up those videos. Keep wearing the jewelry. Keep causing Christians to pull up short and think again. I mean, that's how I became an atheist. I was just blathering the whatever stuff that I blathered, all my life. And somebody turned to me and said, that isn't true, right? That's all he said. Somebody that I respected a lot turned to me, and I didn't even know he was an atheist, turned to me and said, that isn't true, right? It's all it took for me to start thinking. I mean, I had another woman too who was actually a Buddhist. She got me thinking too, and she pointed out the verses in the Bible that tell that a woman should not be able to teach men or have any authority over men. That verse kind of pissed me off too, and made me think, that can't possibly be from anything else but the brain of a man, a fucking sexist Middle Eastern man. And when I started realizing that bits of the Bible came from men like that, I could no longer believe in the Bible, because the moment you start figuring out that the whole Bible isn't true, how are we supposed to know what is and what isn't? Yeah. Anyway, I was actually on the verge of ending the video, and then I had a second wind. Anyway, if you've been watching, thanks. Bye.